Hey everybody, it's
Ah.
Mecca.
It's Ace, too.
Did you try to interrupt me just now?
No.
Sounded a lot like you're trying to interrupt me.
I didn't mean
I'm not gonna take
to!
that shit from you. So, today we have a fan art drawcast, more similar to how we did things back in the day. This is some OG Misfit artists. And I am drawing The Bride from the DC Creature Commandos, directed by James Gunn. I just thought it was a really fun show. I have a lot of respect for the animation studio that worked on it. I do not remember their name off the top of my head, and I don't want to say it wrong, so Ace can look it up in the edit if she so chooses. But yeah, so I like the art style, like the character designs, and we're also going to kind of dive into a little bit of different rendering styles at the end, because what I did was I did that line art, and then I played with, just a couple of different art styles. I do like an classic anime TV production rendering of it. I do what I think of as like the Gravity Falls style, and kind of how I like to render things. So, any questions, Ace? Or
So it's just, like, the rendering.
that's all that's really
portion.
gonna be
Just,
funky.
okay.
Yeah. This is gonna show the whole process in like the last 5 minutes. I'm gonna kind of talk about that.
Okay.
But yeah, so we all Gucci.
We are all Gucci.
Okay. Well, 3, 2, 1. So obviously, you just kind of gotta start out. I didn't record my first like 5 minutes of warm up sketching attempts. And you're going to see a few decisions and changes get made. I don't draw a lot of fan art, and I want to do more of it. So I didn't try to like stay fully on model or like match the show style perfectly, because I just wanted to. There's definitely like I wanted to study it, but there's parts that I think are very, very me. But like I said, I was referencing the original, so
Mm-hmm.
There was like this one shot where like she's leaning in. The bride is like leaning in and talking to the mermaid girl. But again, I didn't try to like match the pose perfectly one for one. I made it into a bit more like a portrait. But next fan art I do, I might try to make more of a dynamic, like actiony pose.
Yes.
Whenever I do those, I always end up like sketching like this crazy scene, and like that will take so long. And I'm like, I don't really want to work on this project anymore.
You want to do the best that you can with the
Yeah.
fan art, and you just want to go ham with it.
Yeah. But really, if I want to like portray the character, it's good to either practice doing a portrait or do a good portrait if you want to make it recognizable as a character. Because otherwise, I'm just drawing a guy up in the air punching a robot in the face.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter what character that is, if we're being honest.
That is true.
Here, I'm doing a little trick I like to do for making sure that anatomy lines up, and basically it's checking the shoulder line and drawing like the ribs or the breasts kind of in that same line, so it doesn't feel like things are warping too much. I can't remember where I saw that trick from, but it was a thing. I wasn't trying to make this necessarily like a pinup thing, but the bride does wear like that corset thing, so...
Can I be a little nitpicky?
Go for it.
Her boobies are not as pronounced, to be
No,
fair.
they get dialed back, I think, as I render it. Because I'm going to throw the jacket on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then it was just a lot of trying a bunch of different things out. Because I said the shot that I was referencing when she leans over, like gravity does like take effect a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was a challenge. I was like looking at it, like, okay, let's do this. And I didn't want to spend there's gonna be a lot of parts of this where it's like I just didn't want to spend the whole time correcting and fighting like any one detail. So like there's parts of her lower body I wasn't happy with either. Like this is one of the reasons I always get kind of like frustrated like portrait style stuff. Like when you just cut the body off, I'm thinking like, but what are the legs actually doing? And if I don't have room to experiment, it's kind of hard sometimes. The lips.
Don't worry about it.
But so that's the thing. Like I'll fight something for so long, and I'm just gonna say, screw it. This is how it is. We're moving on. Like similar with the lips, because the art style, and especially how the bride is, she has those like really blocky lips almost, and I actually really like that look. But it's one of those things like I feel like whenever I try it, it looks weird. Like right here at this part of the sketch, I think it looks weird. When I line it, and especially when I get the color in, I think it works. You can kind of tell me. But yeah, so as you can see, like I am still. I'm like, don't worry, I'm gonna fix it a little bit more, because I knew there was a lot of parts where I went in and I'm like, I'm gonna transform this back. I also have a really hard time. I love the red jacket. But
her jacket's like dope.
Yeah, But I think that the in the later episodes where she has the jacket's been torn off and like it's just the corset and there's like tears in it,
Mm.
it like that's edgy and cool as shit, I think. So I don't think there is a point in the show where she has the torn shirt but the jacket's still on. But that was the middle ground I wanted. I wanted torn corset and cool jacket.
Yeah.
I'm saying you try to think like this.
I'm trying to remember because we like binged the whole series.
We watched it. We watched like the first episode with our roommate. Like, oh yeah, we'll do like one episode a week, and then I was like, I want to finish the whole thing. But yeah, here's like a quick recap of the line of the sketch phase here. I gotta say, watching how long it actually took me and then seeing it all sped up is kind of disheartening. But is that thing like so much of this was me thinking, referencing, and like even looking at like other shows because I said I wasn't trying to. When I do line art, I don't want it to be a complete one-for-one scene draw. Maybe I should do that sometimes.
Right.
I'm also using I'm trying out some new Clip Studio brushes. It's the Good Brush and the Good Brush 2. The Good Brush 2 is basically just the Good Brush with some extra teeth. And sometimes it doesn't show as well in the vector style. I'm also going to redo those black shapes. I tried to like put that little like circle in to show some more depth, but I think when I'm doing these solid blacks, sometimes it's just better to have that solid like slash in there.
Gotcha.
At least that's my opinion. Again, you can let me know if you think I should have kept it in one way or another. And I tried to like I didn't want it to be like a perfect circle thing. I wanted to kind of stylize with a. I'm also trying to like really think about because we just went over your line art video stuff, so I'm trying to think more intelligently about mine. So I'm really trying to make sure that I have flats against curves and thick lines against thin lines a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which doesn't always work if you're doing like life studies all the time because it's not a hard and fast rule, but it is something that will make things look dynamic a lot faster. But like I told you, I'm trying to also think about. I'm trying not to do that. What's the word? Pointlessly. I'm really trying to do that with purpose.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, there's a thick line there, so there should be a thin line next. But then I'll think, but the way I want it, like it to read with depth and everything, I actually want that to be another thick line. So it's a real balancing act. I also went ahead and used the adjust line width tool, as you can see there.
Yes.
And I mean, it's a good tool, especially for trying to do these stitches, because I don't want them. I feel like again, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but if I'm switching pens a lot, that just feels tedious and like wasting time. So trying to go in and be like, okay, now I need to do a thinner pen for this line weight. Whereas having the pressure sensitivity and then being able to just go back in and be like, okay, thin, thicken.
It saves so much time.
Yeah. And that's not the end all be all of art, but like saving time as well as enjoying the process will make you make better art, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, going in and doing a lot of still futzing. Like I don't want to. I was really conscious. Like I'm drawing this, I'm recording it. I don't want to spend the whole time focused on the boobs. But every time I looked at them, I was like, "But I could do this." And there's, like I said, the eyes, and you may not have noticed, but I shifted the eyes from my original because I was trying to like kind of match the show style. The direct animation director and studio that does this is really good at those like anatomically correct, just kind of realistic eye shapes with like the eyelid folding over. But I like drawing like big circle eyes with those giant pupils just like smacked to one side.
You know, looking at this, it does feel kind of trippy that one eye has like the
little bit of rays. So I was wanting to make it like that because again, one of the reasons I love The Bride's one, I think she's hot too. I love the Frankenstein horror aspect of it.
Valid.
But I also love her like in a task force, like the Suicide Squad, Task Force X trope that we're doing. I love the character who's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, but I'm tired. I love a tired character.
It's very on the internet it's called like introvertuous.
Yeah,
I'm here to help, but I'd rather not be.
And I feel like one of the best expressions of that one is that mouth kind of like pushing to an angle, like, but also the one eye just very tired, almost closing the other eye, a little raised, like, are you seriously pulling this shit with me today? I just think that's really fun. I also broke model a little bit, and I gave the inside of the jacket a slightly different tone. I just thought that helped break it up and make it look a bit more interesting. I think they just didn't do that for the show because animation, how many of these do you want to color that way and be consistent about it?
Yeah.
But for an illustration, I think, like I said, making the inside a slightly different color helped. Well, I've talked a lot. Ace, do you have any thoughts about this or anything that you want to share as like kind of an update?
No thoughts. Head empty.
Thoughts at MT? We are working.
Monster Woman.
Monster Woman. We are going to be working on getting our Monster Logbook project printed, so there should be another video coming out about that soon. I had a real burnout thing lately, which I might try to come on and share. Not to like get sympathy or brag or anything weird like that. I just think that for making videos of that art, the human experience is part of it. So maybe it really depends on schedule. Like I'm not as self-conscious. You've been self-conscious about sharing too much of our lives on here. I'm not self-conscious about it. It's just I want to make it interesting, and if people don't like it, I'm like, there's no point. Like I have other people I can talk to. I don't have to, vent to the internet necessarily. So yeah, few things like that to look forward to. Here I'm doing the first. So this I was starting to do like my quote unquote how I perceive the Gravity Falls rendering style when they do like spooky dark scenes. I'm gonna go in and really change a lot of it later. But basically, if I can like kind of sum it up, you can see the layers. It's basically this one big shading layer on it, and I don't know if they do it in the show, but I always take out the shading from the eyes and the teeth because I think that helps draw your eye, make the facial expression more readable. And I'm going to do that in every single one of these. But then they just put like an overlay or a highlight layer on top of it just to show the direction of light and break it up a little bit. And I think that just looks dope. It's so simple and clear so quickly.
I don't know how I feel about the orange rim lighting. It's a little too harsh, a little too bright.
That's the thing I'm going to change. Because that was my personal style coming in. I always like to have a contrasting shadow and light layer. It's not always the most realistic, and it doesn't work for everything, but that's my default. So like I said, I'm going to go in and change that for the Gravity Falls one at least. This one here is my personal rendering style, which is still doing the shadow layer remove for the highlights, but then I go in with another edge light, so I have like 3 layers of tone. And I'm going in and blending out the layers. Each version is going to have a default version and then like a blended version. I am using the wrong blend brush. The wrong blend brush. I actually like the one that's right below blend blur. I thought I was using it, and you're going to see me undo and redo it a lot. I'm like, this just isn't feeling right for some reason. Because when you use the traditional blenders, you have this kind of like stepping to it almost. Like you can see like the strokes in it more, whereas blur just softens it. And this is going to a thing from the line art again. If you want to render it and like have like not make it realistic, but make it feel a bit more like higher budget, for lack of a better term, don't blend everything. If you blend everything, it gets muddy. But if you can have like your blend shape, so like I said, I go in and I remove the highlights. I remove the shade layer to make my highlight and show the direction of light. Have a hard edge and a soft edge.
Okay.
So it depends. Like you have to study geometry some to really kind of catch it. But basically, the idea is most of the times when light is hitting something, and it casts a shadow, the shadow on the side where the light is coming from will probably be hard because the light is stopping there. But then if it's a curved surface, it's going to get softer as it gets further away from that light source again.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So just keep in mind, so in all of these, the light source is to screen left slightly from the bottom, and you'll kind of see what I'm playing with. And again, it's not a hard and fast rule. As long as there is a hard edge and a soft edge, you're going to be good. Sometimes it's going to be more soft than hard, yada, yada, yada. But like right here, so I'm making sure that the left side has a harsher shadow and it falls off as it goes to the right side. And then it would be vice versa if you're doing a subtractive method and you're putting all the shading tone down and then adding in your highlights. This last one I'm doing is kind of like closer to the Creature Commandos show, or like a classic anime shading style. I went in and added a highlight just because I like highlights and rim light. But a lot of shows and productions, if they're not trying to get a specific tone for a specific shot, they're just going to go in with a like classic multiply style layer with minimal coloring to it, and just instead of having mostly shadow with the highlights removed, they just kind of go in like under the head and catch the major shadows that are falling off. Gives them a little bit less to track and worry about for a big crazy animated show.
Gotcha.
Or at least that's my reading. I have not worked on big productions like these, but that's what I've observed, how I emulate it, etc., etc. And then again, super easy way to cheat some budget look in there is just throw a gradient, either an overlay or multiply style. Again, I go and remove the eyes from that, and it just helps add some atmosphere to it, especially if you match it to a background, the background colors. Makes them feel more in world, and if you put it on like overlay or something like that, you're just basically making all the brights brighter and the darks darker, which is, good, obviously. It
Yeah.
gives more contrast and everything. And I'm also constantly checking with a white color layer on top to check my values, make sure that's looking good on everything. We're coming up to the part soon where you may see the pause here where I turned over and I showed it to you, and you're like, that doesn't quite look like Gravity Falls. And I'm like, I had looked it up, I was like, oh, that's right, they use the same color for the highlight as they do for the dark. The highlight's just a higher value. So you're going to see me go in and like aggressively change everything to blue. I also fight with this dumb background shape for a little too long. You're going to see me do a few post VFX stuff, some compositing, if you will. I add some TV noise to the background shape and like do some line blurs, play with different strokes. And the big thing here is like I was doing fan art. I had a design I was working. Yeah, see, I kind of like caught on like, oh, I was using the wrong blender, so I just duplicate everything and redo my blending with the blur brush, which it looks so much better, so much faster.
Right, like using the blend brush and then using the blur brush. It just, I just
undid the blur or the blend brush. That was all blur. And I'm not a fan of saying you need to have this brush download or whatever to make good art. This is for my style. I think like this Gaussian blur brush, because I'm not trying to overdo my blending. I just want to soften the edge, and that does it well for me. If you want to be lazy about it, you could literally just clipping mask the shading to the flat and literally just Gaussian blur it. You're not going to have that hard, soft contrast as much, but that Gaussian blur will, again, make it look more illustrative, more textured, whatever. So yeah, I was going through, checking them all, making some more decisions. And that's what I was going to say is the big part here. Make decisions. So like I said, I'm doing fan art. I'm using reference, but there's a certain point in your art career where you have to copy. You have to study. Da-da-da-da-da. And then there's going to be another point where you need to really start making decisions. Still thinking about what you're seeing and what you've learned, but apply it. What will make it work for you?
Right.
What is the vibe you want? Do you want it to feel cool, scary, sexy? Do you want it to look like a show? Do you want to come up with your own original look? And there's not very many right or... You see where I changed the eye there. I was like,
right,
screw that complicated eye shape. Yeah, so and like I said, there's no wrong answers to it. It's just that you need to be making these decisions. If someone asks, what are you drawing? If you want to be a quote-unquote professional artist, you can't just say, oh, I'm just drawing. Sometimes that's good, but I would say 9 times out of 10, if you're working on a project, know what the point of your project is. If someone asks what kind of show or comic are you making, say, oh, it's like a blend of this. Don't list every freaking genre. Pick 1 or 2 genres to mix and make it good at that. Otherwise, you're going to be good at nothing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, and if you guys want, I can do something about post effects later. I did TV blur, chromatic aberration, all sorts of stuff there. But again, biggest thing is play with them, find effects, try it out. I want you to edit just your little
Yeah.
I want that as our PNG arsenal. So yeah, any questions, comments, concerns, Ace? Or
no.
Did you like it?
I liked it. It was good.
Did I do good, Dad?
Yes, I am proud of you, son.
Cool. So next video, I don't know what it'll be. It'll either be talking about some emotional shiz. We have, like I said, maybe a video about the logbook comic that we're gonna come out. Maybe a Patreon update. We have a lot of ideas kerneling.
So many good things.
We have a werewolf project that we're playing with now. It's gonna be a little
Yes.
secretive, but yeah, it's not gonna be a hit cam specific thing, but it's just gonna be a cool werewolf.
Yeah.
So yeah, until next time, draw some monsters as superheroes and eat your ice cream.
Bye.
Bye.